Chapter 5, Planning, the foundation of successful management. We describe planning and its link to strategy. We define planning, strategy, and strategic management and state why they are important. We discuss VRIO for analyzing competitive potential. We deal with the fundamentals of planning, including the mission, vision, and value statements, and the three types of planning: strategic, tactical, and operational. We consider goals, operating plans, and action plans, SMART goals, management by objectives, and cascading goals, and finally, the planning and control cycle. Start off by defining all the vocabulary as they appear in the chapter. Planning is defined as setting goals and deciding how to achieve them. Planning is coping with uncertainty by formulating future courses of action to achieve specified results. A plan is a document that outlines how goals are going to be met. A business plan is a document that outlines a proposed firm's goals, the strategy for achieving them, and the standards for measuring success. The business model, which outlines the need the firm will fill, the operations of the business, its components and functions, as well as the expected revenues and expenses. A strategy or strategic plan sets the long-term goals and direction for an organization. Strategic management is a process that involves managers from all parts of the organization in the formulation and the implementation of strategies and strategic goals. VRIO is a framework for analyzing a resource or capability to determine its competitive strategic potential by answering 4 questions about its value, rarity, imitability, and organization. An organization's mission is its purpose or reason for being. Mission statement expresses the purpose of the organization. A vision is a long-term goal describing what an organization wants to become. It is a clear sense of the future and the actions needed to get there. A vision statement expresses what the organization should become, where it wants to go strategically. Values statement, also called a core values statement, expresses what the company stands for, its core priorities, the values its employees embody, and what its products contribute to the world. Strategic planning, determining what the organization's long-term goals should be for the next 1 to 5 years, with the resources they expect to have available. Tactical planning, that is the determining what contributes or what contributions their departments or similar work units can make with their given resources during the next 6 to 24 months. Tactical planning is carried out by middle managers, followed by first-line managers who do operational planning. In operational planning, they determine how to accomplish specific tasks with available resources within the next 1 to 52 weeks. A goal, also known as an objective, is a specific commitment to achieve a measurable result within a stated period of time. Goals may be long or short-term. Long-term goals are generally referred to as strategic goals. They tend to span 1 to 5 years and focus on achieving the strategies identified in a company's strategic plan. Short-term goals are sometimes referred to as tactical or operational goals, or just plain goals. They generally span 12 months and are connected to strategic goals in a hierarchy known as a means-end chain. Operating plan is a plan that breaks long-term output into short-term targets or goals. An action plan defines the course of action needed to achieve a stated goal. Standing plans are plans developed for activities that occur repeatedly over a period of time. Part of a policy is a standing plan that outlines the general response to a designated problem or situation. A procedure or standard operating procedure, SOP, is a standard plan that outlines the response to particular problems or circumstances. A rule is a standing plan that designates specific required action. Single-use plans are plans developed for activities that are not likely to be repeated in the future. Program is a single-use plan encompassing a range of projects or activities. A project is a single-use plan of less scope and complexity than a program. SMART goal is one that is specific, measurable, attainable, and results-oriented, and has target dates. Management by objectives, MBO, is a 4-step process in which 1. Managers and employees jointly set objectives for the employee. 2. Managers develop action plans. 3. Managers and employees periodically review the employee's performance. And 4. The manager makes a performance appraisal and rewards the employee according to results. Cascading goals is the process of ensuring that the strategic goals set at the top level align or cascade downward with more specific short-term goals at lower levels within an organization, including employees' objectives and activities. Planning and control cycle could be planning cycle or control cycle. Has 2 planning steps, 1 and 2, and 2 control steps, 3 and 4. Okay, as follows. So this is part of planning. Make the plan and carry out the plan. And then the control the direction by comparing results with the plan. Control the direction by taking corrective action in 2 ways, namely by correcting deviations in the plan being carried out or by improving future plans. So that completes the vocabulary. Major questions that we should be able to answer by the time that we're wrapped up. 5 of them in total. What are planning, strategy, and strategic management? Why are they important to me as a manager? And how does VRIO work? What are mission, vision, and value statements? And what are the 3 types of planning? What are the 2 types of goals? And what are different kinds of plans? What are SMART goals? And how can they be implemented through management by objectives and goal cascading? How does the planning and control cycle help keep a manager's plans headed in the right direction? Planning, coping with uncertainty. The textbook offers 3 definitions of planning or plans for students. Each refers to the same end goal, but it may be helpful to explain that planning not only helps set goals and decide how to achieve them, but they can also help organizations cope with uncertainty, because a plan will outline a course of action to achieve specific results. 2 examples of plans are offered on the next slide: a business plan and a business model. These are 2 common examples of plans used in the workplace. In addition to the stated definitions, the business model also describes the industry you're entering, how your product will be different, how you'll market to customers, how you're qualified to run the business, and how you will finance your business. You may consider sharing this vignette from the textbook. Write a business plan. Why bother? It's towards the beginning, right at the beginning of section 5.1. My business plan was to wing it, says Lucinda Cross, who started a virtual marketing assistance business in New York City and planned to make it big. I really thought I had it all under control. 2 years after the launch, the lights were turned off, her cars repossessed, and Cross had to move in with their mother. It was a huge mistake, she says, a 6-figure mistake. So the business plan is the document that outlines the proposed firm's goals, the strategy for achieving them, and the standards for measuring the success. The business model outlines the need the firm will fill, the operations of the business, its components and functions, as well as the expected revenues and expenses. Strategy, setting long-term direction. In addition to planning, strategy is also being discussed in this chapter. A strategy, or more accurately, a strategic plan, helps set long-term goals in an organization and usually looks at the organization as a whole. A strategy or strategic plan is a large-scale action plan that sets the long-term goals and direction for an organization. It represents an educated guess about what must be done in the long term for the survival or the prosperity of the organization or its principal parts. Strategic plans generally reconsidered every year due to ever-changing business conditions. Strategic management. It can be critically important for businesses. It aligns the goals of the organization through all levels of management. It involves managers from all parts of the organization in the formulation and the implementation of strategies and strategic goals. Planning and strategic management in Figure 5.1. These are the steps to planning and strategic management. These steps will be thoroughly discussed throughout chapters 5 and 6. Part 1. Establish the mission and vision and values. 2. Assess the current reality. 3. Formulate the grand strategy and strategic, tactical, and operational plans. 4. Implement the strategy. And 5. Maintain strategic control. Why planning and strategic management are important. There are 3 reasons that businesses should adopt planning and strategic management. We'll discuss each of these in the slides that follow. In short, they are providing direction and momentum, encouraging new ideas, and developing a sustainable competitive advantage. Why plan? Providing direction and momentum. Why are direction and momentum important? Unless a plan is in place, managers may well focus on just whatever is in front of them, just putting out fires. Managers might be so preoccupied with day-to-day pressures that their organizations can lose momentum. Examples to consider. What Amazon.com was to Borders bookstores. What Uber has been to taxi cabs. What blogs and internet news meant for newspapers. What microbreweries have been to Anheuser-Busch. Why do businesses need direction and momentum? The main reason is so that competitors are less likely to sneak up on them. Presented in this slide were 4 examples from the textbook. These give a good idea to what can happen when a business takes their customers for granted. If they do, they risk losing market share. And that's exactly what happened. Why plan? Encouraging new ideas. Management scholar Gary Hamel says that companies such as Apple have been successful because they have been able to unleash the spirit of strategy innovation. Strategy innovation is defined as the ability to reinvent the basis of competition within existing industries, bold new business models that put incumbents on the defensive. Can students see why Apple might be described as having strategy innovation? It was a company that was still competing in the personal computer market, but they upended the entire industry with the introduction of the smartphone, the iPhone, to the market. Why plan? Developing a sustainable competitive advantage. And that advantage is defined as the ability of an organization to produce goods or services more effectively than its competitors do, thereby outperforming them. The final reason why planning and strategic management are important is to develop a sustainable competitive advantage. The key here is that an organization can get ahead and stay ahead in 4 areas. 1. Being responsive to customers. 2. In innovating. 3. In quality. And 4. In effectiveness. From the book, Who's Up, Who's Down? In the struggle for competitive advantage, the state of play is constantly shifting. Not long ago, people thought IBM, Cisco Systems, Intel, and Oracle were unbeatable in tech. Manjo observes. They're all still large companies, but they're far less influential than they were once. Meanwhile, Yahoo, once a huge success story, may be running out of time, its ad revenues slipping far behind those of its rivals, its decline hastened by the rise of mobile devices and social media. Using VRIO to analyze competitive potential. And VRIO is a framework for analyzing a resource or its capability to determine its competitive strategic potential by answering 4 questions about its value, rarity, imitability, and organization. A yes answer to each question means the resource or capability, that is, the business idea, has a competitive advantage. It may help to run through the figure with students using the example from the book. In this diagram here, in the green and orange squares, is the resource or capability. Valuable? Is it rare? Is it costly to imitate? Say you have an idea for a product or service, such as, let's develop a ride service for kids similar to that of Uber and Lyft for adults. Actually, several such endeavors have been launched, one of the more recent ones being Shuttle in San Francisco. How do you determine if this idea might work? Value. The idea of an on-demand ride service for unaccompanied children provided by drivers in their personal cars exploits an opportunity. It is valuable because some parents say they really need such a service. Rare. No other firms in your area are yet offering on-demand children's ride services. It is rare. So this is a competitive advantage. Costly to imitate. Offering a child's ride service with drivers using their own personal cars is probably not so costly that other firms might not try to imitate you. Here you have a competitive advantage, but it may be temporary. And is the firm organized to exploit value, rarity, and imitability? Only the company would know this for sure. Shuttle in San Francisco was not, and they went out of business in April 2016. Answering yes to all of these 4, it gives you sustained competitive advantage. In Figure 5.3, Fundamentals of Planning. The approach to planning can be summarized in this diagram, which shows how an organization's mission becomes translated into action plans. The 3 main plans are strategic planning, tactical planning, and operational planning. We have the mission statement, what is our reason for being? The vision statement, what do we want to become? The values statement, what values do we want to emphasize? Followed by the strategic planning, which is done by the top managers for the next 1.5 years. They help formulate goals and action plans. The next level of the management, down. Tactical planning, done by the middle managers for the next 6 to 24 months, who also establish goals and action plans. And then lastly, operational planning, done by the first line managers for the next 1 to 52 weeks. And again, they contribute to the goals and action plans. Mission, vision, and value statements. The planning process begins with 3 attributes: a mission statement, a vision statement, and value statement. The mission statement, which answers the question, what is our reason for being, expresses the purposes of the organization. Why are we here? The vision statement, which answers the question, what do we want to become? It is a clear sense of the future and the actions needed to get there. Where do we want to go? And the value statement, which answers the question, what values do we want to emphasize? What the company stands for, its core priorities, the values it's employees embody and what its products contribute to the world. What values do we want to emphasize? An example in the text is a company's mission statement, vision, and value statement on the next slide, Hilton Hotels. Here's an example of how a mission, vision, and value statement work together to provide a cohesive message to customers and employees alike. Hilton Hotels is a large hotel and hospitality company. Their mission statement says, "To be the preeminent global hospitality company, the first choice of guests, team members, and owners alike." Their vision statement, "To fill the earth with the light and warmth of hospitality." And their value statement, spelled Hilton, Hilton. H for hospitality. We're passionate about delivering exceptional guest experiences. I for integrity. We do the right thing all the time. L for leadership. We're leaders in our industry and in our communities. T for teamwork. We're team players in everything we do. O for ownership. We're the owners of our actions and decisions. And N for now. We operate with a sense of urgency and discipline. The 3 types of planning for 3 levels of management. Figure 5.4. There are 3 types of planning for the 3 levels of management: strategic planning, tactical planning, and operational planning. The key information here is to show how different levels of management use plans and the time frame of those plans. Top management is often engaged in strategic planning. Middle management is often engaged in tactical planning. And first line management is often engaged in operational planning. When we look closer at the top management, they could include personnel in the roles of chief executive officer, president, vice president, general managers, and division heads. So they take care of strategic planning for 1 to 5 years. They make long-term decisions about overall direction of the organization. Managers need to pay attention to environment outside the organization, to be future-oriented, and deal with uncertain and highly competitive conditions. The next level of management, the middle management, includes personnel and roles commonly referred to as functional managers, product line managers, and department managers. And they take care of tactical planning for 6 to 24 months. They implement policies and plans of top management, supervise and coordinate activities of first-line managers below, and make decisions often with base or without base of clarity defined information procedures. Or they make decisions often without base of clearly defined information procedures. And then lastly, the first-line management includes roles referred to as unit managers, team managers, and first-line supervisors. They take care of operational planning for 1 to 52 weeks. Direct daily tasks of non-managerial personnel. Decisions often are predictable and following well-defined set of routine procedures. So a question here states, Danny is participating with other managers in a discussion about what his organization's goals should be for the next decade. He is participating in strategic, operational, tactical, or controlling. The answer is strategic planning. It refers to page 138. Learning objective 2. The rationale for this answer is he's participating in long-term planning, which is a part of strategic planning. Long-term and short-term goals. The planning process begins with 3 attributes: a mission statement. Scratch that. Long-term and short-term goals. Goals are Specific commitment to achieve a measurable result within a stated period of time. Long-term goals, generally referred to as strategic goals. They tend to span 1 to 5 years and focus on achieving the strategies identified in a company's strategic plan. So strategic goals achieve the strategies within the strategic plan. Short-term goals, sometimes referred to as tactical or operational goals, or just plain goals, generally span 12 months and connected to strategic goals in a hierarchy known as a means end chain. The operating plan and action plan. This slide and the one previous have shown us how a goal, whether it be a short-term or a long-term goal, can be broken down into smaller pieces, such as an operating plan and then an action plan, so that there is alignment between the strategy created at the top with the actions of middle and frontline managers to carry out the strategic plan. The operating plan is a plan that breaks long-term output into short-term targets or goals, turns strategic plans into actionable short-term goals and action plans. The action plan defines the course of action, the tactics that are needed to achieve a stated goal. They contain a projected date for completing the desired activities for each tactic. And they provide an example means-end chain. As a reminder, a means-end chain shows how goals are connected or linked across an organization. This example from the textbook shows how a strategic goal can be translated into an operational goal and then into an action plan for the company's employees. So we look at number 1, strategic goal. Increase revenue from new customers by 10% over the next 12 months. So it's clearly defined. The goal is to increase by 10%. And 2, the operational goal. Introduce or roll out 2 new product offerings over the next 12 months. Okay. So they want to expand the product offerings or services over the next 12 months. And in hope they can increase the revenue by 10% with that. And then 3 is the action plan. It's broken down into 5 separate components. The first, product development team to propose 2 new products by March 31st. Okay, so that's specific and provides a date to complete, or estimated date of completion. Then 2 is products to be produced and pilot tested in selected markets by May 1st. Products to be modified as needed and a marketing plan prepared to support their introduction or rollout by May 31st. Okay, chronologically these are the set specific objectives of it. 4, their sales force to be trained to sell products and execution of marketing plan, begun by June 30th. And 5, the sales managers to meet with sales force to discuss progress and receive comments on marketing plan, which is ongoing. Standing plans and single-use plans. Here is table 5.1. It describes various plans and the descriptions. Pretty basic. There's also a difference between the standing plans and single-use plans. We'll likely have work or school experience with these types of plans. The syllabus likely outlines different policies that address tardiness, late work, etc. McDonald's specifies exact procedures on how a hamburger should be dressed: mustard, ketchup, pickles, and in what order. Your campus likely has a rule about no smoking in this building. The U.S. government space program has had several projects, including the Challenger project, the Hubble telescope project, and the Space Shuttle project. So the first plan, the standing plan, for activities that occur repeatedly over a period of time. It includes policy, outlines general response to a designated problem or situation. The procedure outlines response to a particular problem or circumstances, and the rule designates specific required action. And in contrast, the standing plans to single-use plans, which are for activities not likely to be repeated in the future. The program encompasses a range of products or activities, or projects or activities, and a project has less scope and complexity than a program. SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, results-oriented, and target dates. The 5 characteristics of a good goal are represented by the acronym SMART. Specific. Goals should be stated in specific rather than vague terms. The goal that as many planes as possible should arrive on time is too general. The goal that 90% of planes should arrive within 15 minutes of the scheduled arrival time is specific. Measurable. Whenever possible, goals should be measurable or quantifiable, as in 90% of planes should arrive within 15 minutes. That is, there should be some way to measure the degree to which a goal has been reached. Attainable. Goals should be challenging, of course, but above all, they should be realistic and attainable. It may be best to set goals that are quite ambitious, so as to challenge people to meet high standards. Always, however, the goals should be achievable within the scope of the time, equipment, and financial support available. For this attainable, we'll see more on figure 5.4 in the next slide. Results oriented. Only a few goals should be chosen. Say 5 or any work unit, or 5 for any work unit, and they should be results oriented. They should support the organization's vision. Target dates. Goals should specify the target dates or dates that are to be attained. For example, it's unrealistic to expect an airline to improve its on-time arrivals by 10% overnight. However, you could set a target date 3 to 6 months away, say, by which this goal is to be achieved. Management by objectives. The 4-step process for motivating employees. Managing by objectives. 1. Managers and employees jointly set objectives for the employee. 2. Managers develop action plans. 3. Managers and employees periodically review the employee's performance. And 4. Managers make a performance appraisal and reward the employee according to the results. This was first suggested by Peter Drucker in 1954. Management by objective has spread, largely because of the appeal of its emphasis on converting general objectives into specific ones for all members of an organization. The purpose of MBO is to motivate rather than to control subordinates. The 3 types of objectives used in MBO are on the next slide. These are the 3 types of objectives used in MBO, management by objectives. Are students surprised to see personal development objectives on the list? Why do they believe this might be valued by employees? For example, they feel that their managers care about their development and about them as a person. So this table 5.2 has improvement objectives, personal development objectives, and maintenance objectives. The purpose and example will be read for each. The purpose of improvement objectives are to express performance to be accomplished in a specific way for a specific specific area. Examples are increase sport utility sales by 10%, reduce food spoilage by 15%. Personal development objectives, purpose, are to express personal goals to be realized. Examples, attend 5 days of leadership training. Learn basics of Microsoft Office software by June 1st. And then maintenance objectives. Purpose are to express the intention to maintain performance at previously established levels. And examples, continue to meet the increased sales goals specified last quarter, and produce another 60,000 case of wine this month. Cascading goals, making lower level goals align with top goals. Objectives are structured in a unified hierarchy, becoming more specific at lower levels of the organization. For MBO goal setting to be successful, the following 3 things have to happen. Commitment. When top management commitment, MBO, was high, said one review, the average gain in productivity was 56%. When commitment was low, the average gain in productivity was 6%. So, therefore, top management must be committed to it. Second is organization-wide goals. The goal-setting program has to be put in place throughout the entire organization. That is, it cannot be applied in just some divisions and departments. It has to be done in all of them. Therefore, goals must be applied organization-wide. And lastly, cascading goals. Top managers set the strategic goals, which are translated into divisional goals, which are translated into departmental goals, which are translated into individual goals. The cascading process ends when all individuals have a set of goals that support the overall strategic goal, or goals. This process helps employees understand how their work contributes to overall corporate success. Therefore, goals must cascade and be linked consistently down through the organization. A question. Melissa wants her employee, Ralph, to turn in his monthly sales report by the 5th of every month. This meets the blank requirement of SMART goals. Is it specific, measurable, attainable, or target dates? Since the question describes Melissa as, well, the purpose of what she's asking is for her employee to turn in the sales report on a specific date of every month. So this would apply to not specific, not measurable, not attainable, but target dates. So the T in the SMART goals. Figure 5.6, the planning and control cycle. We have step 1, 2, 3, and 4. The 2 planning steps are here at the top in the orange, and the 2 control steps are in the clay colored. Planning happens in 2 steps. Make the plan and carry out the plan. Next, control happens in the 2 following steps. Control the direction by comparing the results with the plan. And 4, control the direction in 2 ways. Correct deviations or improve future plans. Remind students that the planning and control cycle loop exists for each level of planning, strategic, tactical, and operational. The corrective action in step 4 of the cycle can get a project back on track before it's too late. If it's too late, can provide data for improving future plans. Here in this slide, we have Apple Watch. This is an example from the textbook of a way that a planning and control cycle can be used by real businesses, in this case, the Apple Watch. In this example, Apple isn't correcting deficiencies, but rather in the corrective action phase, they are evaluating the opportunity to do more and to sell more Apple Watches. So in the first step, making the plan, the Apple Watch would be designed to solve a problem created by technology, namely overwhelming the user by distracting texts, emails, and other alerts. 2. Carry out the plan. In developing the watch, everything that worked on a smartphone was completely rethought and re-engineered. And 3. Comparing the results. Apple shipped 11.6 million watches in 2015, making Apple the third largest wearable maker that year. Okay. And they're using the word wearable. So Apple producing wearable products. And 4, taking corrective action. The watch claimed over half the 2015 smartwatch market in less than a year of sales. What else could it do? Drop the price, provide accessories, and make it thinner and faster. And here's a question. Apple has fired employees who have leaked news about unannounced products. Which step of the planning and controlling process is this? B. Take corrective action. They need to get rid of the people leaking the information. Okay, so we continue. Pretty much at the end of the slideshow for this chapter. Just going to go through the appendix. This slide applies to the earlier slide, figure 5.1, which displays the steps in planning and strategic management. Next, using VRIO to analyze competitive potential. So these are the questions that you would ask, and this slide applies to the diagram that went in a downward direction, and if yes to all 4 questions, then it would imply a sustained competitive advantage. This one here, fundamentals of planning. This applied to the graphic that showed the process of fundamentals of planning. This one here is good as it describes the 3 types of management for the 3 levels of management. The 3 types of planning for the 3 levels of management. This one here is relationship being between goal difficulty and performance. Okay, so this one will be good. Committed individuals with adequate ability may start with a low performance but can achieve a moderate level. And committed individuals who are working at capacity maintain a moderate performance. And individuals who lack commitment to high goals go from a challenging performance to it being impossible to perform. And this last one was where it would contribute to low morale. And this is the final slide of the show. Applies to figure 5.6, which gives the 2 planning steps and the 2 control steps and depicts how they progress.